welcome to the Social Proof Podcast. We are here, y'all. I definitely need to see the YouTube chat as well. We can throw that over there. I'm excited about this conversation, man. So we had Podcast Summit, and these two actually joined my podcast mastermind. So one of our deliverables is giving an opportunity for me to kind of see what y'all are doing in the podcasting and business space, but also maybe I can provide some insight on coaching on how we can get this podcast going. So you can introduce yourselves. Ladies first.
Okay, my name is Sabrina Reynolds. I'm married to the wonderful and lovely Lou Reynolds. We are in business together. We've been married for about 28 years, going on 29 next year. And yeah, we do business, life, and relationship together. We have 2 kids.
Dang, 28 going on 29.
Yes.
Indeed.
We're a little old.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, Lou Reynolds, married to Sabrina Reynolds. We have a wonderful relationship. Like she said, we've been married for 28 years. Our 2 children, Kendrick and Gabrielle. Kendrick's 25, Gabrielle's 18. So we've got some experience with being in relationship and raising kids and running business. So that's kind of the essence of what we do.
28 years?
We were 5.
Did y'all ever almost get a divorce?
Which time?
Bruh, 28 years, I knew it just wasn't sweet. Forever. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
So somebody tell me about this 28 years, man. I'm interested.
Yeah, so Sabrina and I met when we were teenagers, and
Vacation Bible School?
Yeah, shout out to Vacation Bible School. Send your
How
kids;
old
they
y'all?
might find a wife.
How old were y'all?
16.
We were 16.
They had a teen class.
Yeah.
Normally it's for the little kids, but they had a teen class.
They sent y'all out to, hold on, was this y'all go back home every day, or it's y'all there for an extended period of time?
No, you go home every day.
Go home at the end of the
So y'all are
day.
from the same community area?
No. Interestingly enough, I actually attended the Vacation Bible School. It was actually my sister's church. Her and her husband were pastoring the church. And so they invited me. I lived hundreds of miles away, over 300 miles away. But I came to town to hang out with them. And so I said, yeah, I'll go to your Vacation Bible School. And lo and behold, the lady next to me walked in. She was 16. She was just a young teenager at the time. But yeah, as they say, the rest is history. I was 16 then as well.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so you came to stay there. What city were you living in?
So I lived in Nashua, New Hampshire. Yes, New Hampshire is a state, in case you didn't know that. Yeah.
And where was the Vacation Bible School?
This was in New York. It was on Long Island.
Okay. So you went to New York and stayed for the summer or something?
I spent 2 weeks, with my sister and her husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you came, stayed there for 2 weeks, Vacation Bible School every single day during the week?
Yeah, for that week, I was there every day.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, y'all wasn't being nasty at Vacation Bible School, was y'all?
No, sir.
Y'all get fresh?
Nothing,
No.
Hey, y'all
nothing
know
of the
this-
sort happened. No.
How them Christian kids be? Okay, nothing about that. Okay. So y'all meet, and then, what happened? Who shot?
At the time, I didn't see any level of interest from Sabrina, so I know when to shoot my shot, and it wasn't time. So I let that ride, and about 3 years after that, 19, a lot had happened between college and travels and what have you, and we ran into each other at a concert, and we just kind of said hello and how's it going and what have you, and
Y'all remembered each other, or y'all were with the mutual person and said, hey, that's Sabrina from back in the day?
we remembered each other. She was friends with my sister. So
gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
And I remembered who she was.
Yeah.
I remembered her. I'm not going to say she remembered me, but I remembered
definitely remembered him because I would go to his sister's house. He's got 4 older sisters, so there's a lot to choose from. But I would rehearse and sing. I sang with our worship team, and I would go to rehearsals, and I would see a picture. I saw a graduation picture of him, and I was like, oh, he's grown up. So when he came to the concert that we were doing, we were actually in Boston. and we were doing the concert, and he came. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" But he wasn't interested at the time.
Really?
No.
You weren't interested?
There's just a lot going on in my life at that point.
You had somebody?
No, I wasn't with anyone, but I was living on my own. I had actually moved while I was in college. Had a little drama while I was in college. Didn't do all the right things, and I had to move back in with my father, who was living in Jamaica, the island of Jamaica.
Right.
So moving to Jamaica dramatically changed my life and how I saw the universe. So when I came back to the U.S., I was quickly trying to get my life together, figure out what I wanted to do, where I was going in life. And I just happened to be at that concert, and my mind wasn't on, who I was going to connect with at that point. I tried to figure out my own life at that point.
Trying to eat.
Got it. And then when did y'all get married?
So later on that same year.
The same year?
No.
No.
Later that same year, we kind of connected, and that's when we really started dating. And so 2 years after that is when we got married. So we were
y'all
21.
were 21
Yeah.
when you got married.
Yeah.
Okay. And been married 28 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how was them first couple of years?
First couple years of marriage. So year one was great, phenomenal. But after year one is when all of the drama begins. And so,
Hold on, Sabrina, tell me about year two.
Well, backstory is there's a lot of trauma in life that we experienced before we even came together. We talk about marriage. Marriage is a collision of two backgrounds, right? And so year two was pretty disastrous. We weren't really talking, we're just kind of going through the motions, of life and marriage. And then year two is when his mom passed away. So that was traumatic, and
That
being
put strain on the
23 years
relationship?
old. It was a struggle, because his mom, and he's 23 years old, and you lose your mom. It's a lot, and so
When I lost my mom, it definitely put strain on the relationship. And it's not, and I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you can explain it better than I can, but it's like I don't want to be bothered. I don't really want to talk about it. And when you lose somebody, I think you, the person, is dealing with your own stuff. And anybody in your way is going to feel some of that frustration and disappointment and all these feelings that, for me, I couldn't explain it. Like, I couldn't name how I felt. I couldn't, like, how do you feel? I don't know. And if my wife is trying to get me to explain it and I can't find the words, now I'm mad at you. It turns to, I don't really get angry like that. I've never, blown up my wife or even, got to a higher octave or anything on my wife, but internally I'm frustrated because I can't find the words to describe how I feel. And if you keep asking me out of genuine concern because you love me, it becomes this thing, and I respond and you respond, and it just becomes this whole mess, man. So how would you describe the effect of your relationship when your mom passed?
Yeah, you're hitting some of the key things that I think were a part of that. So for me, Sabrina would ask me those questions, being just probing and trying to figure out what's going on with me. And my answer was always, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm good. Because I'm supposed to be, right? Yeah. That's who I'm supposed to be as her husband, as a man. And so for me, internally, I'm not fine. Yeah. But I don't know how to express that. So the expression that I give is just, I'm good, I'm fine. Yeah. And all that stuff is being bottled up inside of me. And for me too, I'm not an angry, express my anger in, a verbal way where I'm yelling and screaming. For me, I just internalize a lot of things and I become more and more quiet.
Dang, bro, that's me.
Yeah.
Yo, we are the same. I don't know if I've ever met anybody like you. It's
not a good thing, though.
It's a horrible thing. And maybe I take it to extreme because I just not talk to you for a few days.
Yeah.
I walk in, hey, how you doing? All right. Or I'm in a I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like a daze. And it's I'm not affectionate, or I'm not even looking you in your eyes. Right. You know what I mean? And I'll be like that for a couple of days until I forget how I feel in terms of being upset. And then it just gets gradually, but I've been needing time to get back to that.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I'm frustrated because I'm feeling like I need to solve this for him. I need to fix this for him. I need to be there for him. And when he didn't let me in, it hurt. And because of the trauma that I hadn't really overcome, I was like, well, it's my fault.
Yeah.
There must be something wrong with me.
Wow.
And why I can't help fix him. And so that became a struggle and a cycle for us, consistently. And we were very active in our church, and people just assumed that we had everything together.
Yeah.
People just assumed that we were well. We were volunteering at a church like 6 days a week, and we're working full time, and we're just doing. How are you? Blessed and highly favored. Like, everything's great.
The blessed and highly favored answer.
Yes. And for us, we didn't realize that cycle was driving us further and further apart, and no one was asking, "Are you guys okay?" Because they just assumed we were good.
What'd you do about it?
Oh my gosh. We sat at the table one day and we were like, so, want to get divorced?
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't a knockdown, drag out fight, argument, all of this. We were just sick and tired of going through the same cycle of being frustrated with each other. And we're just like, this is not working out. This is not what we expected. And we just said, are you ready for a divorce? I'm like, yeah, I think so.
How did you feel approaching that conversation?
Honestly, I was numb at that point, and it was just kind of like, it's the inevitable, I had watched my parents in a relationship for many years that were miserable, and I was like, at least we're not as miserable as them.
Right. Oh, wow. You're talking right now.
And so I thought we were doing better, but then it came to the point where it was just like, well, maybe this just wasn't meant to be, And so it just kind of went like that. But we didn't. We just said, all right, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
How do we get better and stick this out?
How are you feeling during that conversation? And this is what, 3-4 years in?
Yeah, it's about 3 years in. That was really challenging because for me, everything internally was saying, I'm sick of this. Like, I don't need this in my life. Like, I expect better for my life than what I'm experiencing right now. But at the same time, there was a part of me that was like, I didn't get married to get divorced. So what does the next step look like to fix this? And I couldn't see it at the moment. And believe me, that conversation at the table wasn't like the beginning of like this new season. No, that didn't happen. It got worse before it got better. It got much worse. And through the much worse is where I started to learn who I was and who God called me to be. And I started taking my attention off of like, hey, this is what I expect from her. And I started putting my attention on how can I be the me that God has called me to be? And the moment I started doing that, no, it wasn't an immediate Lou turned into, who God called Lou to be, but it was a process and it was a journey. And I believe that in that process, she started to see who I could become.
Got it. And how long did it take to get back to quote unquote normal?
What is normal?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's the first thing. Where we're a loving couple again, because you had this conversation at the table and you're saying it got worse before it got better. Yeah. Did something happen? Was a child born? Was it like, do y'all remember a day where maybe it was your anniversary where you said, okay, we're going to just put this stuff aside and move forward? Anything like that?
No, I felt like we're just going through the motions and doing life. And it was like little by little that it just started to, see the changes, because we determined that we were going to stick with it.
Good.
We saw, again, our parents be married for many years, but they were miserable. And we're like, okay, we're not going to get divorced, but we're not going to be miserable either. Yeah. So we got to find a way to actually love each other.
Got it.
And not just love each other, but like being around each other. Mm-hmm. So it happened gradually, I feel like, for me.
So that was the first 10th of your relationship, pretty much. What was the next almost breaking point? Do you remember?
so we've had some challenges in our relationship as well, where we had to walk through seasons of, going through what I feel like every marriage has things that challenge it, that press it. But I feel like we went through a season where, we had to figure out whether or not this was really going to work. And now in the midst of that, now is the introduction of our first child. And so my son is born. We're walking through that process of figuring out, is this, I know I said I want to be in this forever, but forever is a really long time.
It's a long time. Hold on, before the child's born or during the pregnancy or after is the turmoil?
After.
Yeah.
Postpartum?
Oh, yeah, I had postpartum.
Yeah. Did he not understand it?
I didn't understand it, no.
I'm saying, did he not understand it?
Not fully. No, I don't want to make it seem like he's not a sensitive person, because he's an amazing husband, an amazing man. He's my best friend, But yeah, are there some times when he's just like, can we get over this?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not because he's like, I don't see your pain. It's, I want to see you better.
Yeah, it was one time, me and my wife, we went to, I don't know where, it was like during the pandemic, and she was pregnant. She might have been pregnant with our second child. I think she was pregnant with our second child, I believe. So we're still going, she's knee deep in postpartum from the first child on top of being pregnant. And we go to IHOP for breakfast, and we're taking it to go because I think it was like during pandemic, so it's not like we just sitting down hanging out. We order it, we pick it up. And I get pancakes, and she gets a steak. Don't ask me why she got a steak from IHOP, but it's pregnant stuff. She's like, yo, did you get, she said something like, yo, did you get the A1 sauce? When I tell you it was World War III about this A1 sauce and me not getting the A1, why wouldn't you check the bag? I need the A1. The A1 sauce. First off, you shouldn't be getting steaks from IHOP. That's the first thing we need to talk about. I don't know if I need to be with somebody who's getting a steak from IHOP. You know what I mean? But that was like my first period of understanding, like, yo, it's something going on. Because they ain't got nothing to do with this A1 sauce. And these are some of the breaking points that we had. So, goodness gracious. But we're thinking, you got this child, and we're not a loving family of how I imagined we imagined it.
Right. And it's the challenges that came along with that, we're still walking through how do we be the couple that we believe we can be?
Yeah.
At the same time, we have a life that's dependent upon us. Like we have to do the things that are needed, for our son and for him to prosper, grow, move forward. And we're having troubles with identifying how we do that as parents, as a couple. Yeah. And so we went through our seasons of like disconnection where, it was like, hey, we're seeking other people to fill the void of being able to, have those kind of conversations.
I'm sorry, you're seeking other people, like y'all stepping out?
Well, let me put it this way. So we did go through infidelity in our marriage.
Both of y'all?
No, but
you did? It's normally the man, isn't it? Is it normally, or no? Okay, it be the women on the low. You went through infidelity.
Yes.
Wow.
And so during that time, like I think an important point for me in that time is like I was so disconnected that for me it wasn't like, oh, I'm this great person or whatever. I wasn't a great person. I was out flirting around with other women and what have you, but that wasn't who I wanted to be. It's just we were so disconnected in our relationship that we had lost who we were and who we were supposed to be.
You're living in the same house.
We are.
Did you find out, or did you tell him?
I told him.
You told him. Why'd you tell him?
Because it was eating me alive. And one of the biggest things for me is I didn't want to be like my father.
Fix your mic, turn it up a little bit. Okay.
I said the biggest thing for me is I didn't want to be like my father, and I realized that I had become my father.
Wow.
And that was really devastating to me, to know that I caused the same pain that I hated him for doing to my mom.
Oh,
and
gosh.
I realized there was a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of unresolved issues because of the physical, verbal abuse that I experienced as a child. and then the sexual abuse that I experienced as a child. And all of those things had come to a head, and I was like, this is not who I want to be.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like leading up to that, having that conversation?
Panic, fear. Like, my life is over. I have ruined the best thing that ever happened to me, which is my husband being my best friend. That was one of the things that stood out to me about him, is he was different than any other man that I had dated. You know, I know that we were young when we got married, but I had dated before, and he was so different from anybody else. And it just like, it broke me inside to know that here's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I ruined it. I really am not good enough. I haven't earned the right to be with somebody as good as him.
Boy.
Yeah.
Y'all podcast about to be fire. Oh my gosh. Okay, you hear it. Well, set a scene for me on how this conversation came about.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing that most people would be like, nah, that's not true. It is true. I knew beforehand.
Really?
Yeah, you do. You know. But because I was so disconnected, I was able to put that thing on the back burner, like, whatever.
How did you know?
When you're a couple and your life together and your intimacy together, you know when that's not right. My wife traveled for business, and so I'm not saying that everybody who travels for business is stepping out. That's not what I'm saying. But I understood that the things I knew I wasn't meeting certain needs in her life, and so for me, I'm like, how are those needs getting met?
Wow.
And so I just really started to contemplate those things, and I knew I was like, there is someone else. But I never confronted her about that. So when she came to me and she told me, that brought like a certain level. Obviously, anger came out in those moments, but that brought the challenge to me of now I have to contend with this thing. It's one thing when you think you know something, but you can just backburner that thing in your head. Yeah. It's another thing when it's right in front of you. Now you have to deal with it. You got to really confront it now. But I'm grateful, having to confront it, as Sabrina was saying, that forced me to deal with things inside of me. And that's what needed to happen.
Bro, the fact that you're taking ownership on multiple parts of this is kind of confusing to me. I mean, one, you're saying, well, I knew her needs weren't met. Her needs need to be met, and somebody else is probably meeting those needs because I'm not. And the other part was like, yo, I'm internalizing it, and this is making me a better person. Bro, I'm leaving. Hey, boo, I love you, okay? But I'm leaving. I can't in my mind justify someone hurting me in that way and me saying it's my fault. But I guess that's why y'all been married for 28 years.
Well, to be clear too, there are two people in a relationship.
Yeah.
And when somebody cheats in that relationship, there are people who are just not good people, right? Yeah. And so they make terrible decisions, and they will continue to do that probably forever. But then there are people who make a mistake. And usually when that mistake happens, something is at the center of that thing. So, no, I can't be responsible for the decisions that Sabrina made. I got to be responsible for the decisions that I made. And I have to take ownership of the fact that my decisions have an influence on her decisions. That's the part I have to own. And so, and I can't own, her decision to be with another person and to cheat, have an affair. I don't get to own those things. Those are Sabrina's to own. What I have to own is, what are some of the things that I did during that time that had a really negative impact on our relationship? What are the things that drove wedges between Sabrina and myself? What are the things that made Sabrina feel like she couldn't come to me for the things that she needed? I gotta own those things. I can't ask her to own that.
Ooh, wait, bruh, this is such a good conversation. Okay, so I don't want to go through the whole journey, and I think people will find out on your podcast. Yes. But so tell me about the podcast that we're launching.
Yeah, so we are really excited. It's Harmony and Hustle, the Power Couple podcast. And really, we're delving into what you see us doing right here. That's what our podcast is going to be like. We're going to have real, authentic conversations about life. And for us, a big part of that is how did we balance now growing this relationship with each other and growing businesses at the same time? You know, how do you do those things? And truthfully, it's not a balance. It's a rhythm. Yeah. And so how did we find that rhythm that worked and allow us to be at the place that we are now? Now we don't ever talk about divorce. Like that's not on the table. Back then it wasn't only on the table. We were actually having conversations about doing it. But you know, now we're at a very, very different place. I'm grateful for what God has done for us and done in us because I've seen the changes in my life. I've seen the changes in her life. And so I'm really grateful for where we are now.
Wow. Okay. Give me the podcast from your perspective, Sabrina.
Well, it's about, again, finding that successful rhythm. A lot of times we were looking for this perfect balance. How do we get to perfection? How do we get to a point in our relationship where we don't argue, you know, everything's blissful. It's basically Disney, you know, every single day. And we realize that it's never going to be that. If we keep trying to pursue perfection in our relationship, we will constantly be disappointed in ourselves, disappointed in each other, and just really depressed about it. So we've started to realize that what's our rhythm? You know, what is going to work for us? You know, we've got to take what we've seen, our backgrounds, the collision of our two backgrounds, and figure out how do we make something work for us? We can't just do it, well, my parents did this, you know, well, my parents did this. It's no, what are we going to do? How are we going to have a successful relationship and manage all of these things?
This is good. Okay. So not more, but a very, very important question is how do we plan on monetizing the podcast?
That's a great question.
And that's why we're here.
So some of the things that we've kind of talked through. So we have an ebook that it talks a little bit about our journey, and really it's centered around how we built our businesses through the process of healing and working through our relationships, and not just the relationship between Sabrina and myself, but also how do we manage all of our other relationships. We've got children. Sabrina's mom lives with us, and you know that's when you're caring for your parents while you're raising your children. There's a dynamic that goes along with that, and then you add to that you're trying to grow businesses. And so how do we navigate those challenges? We put those things in the book, but the book is really like the prelude to what's going to happen on the podcast.
Got it. My suggestion is probably focusing less on the hustle part and more in the relationship and balancing all the dynamics of the relationship. And so it's a balance of y'all building businesses together. You still having your own life. You still having your own life. But I think these are conversations that a couple would want to sit down and really start to consume together, because this could be the therapy that a couple is looking for if they haven't found the right therapist. But if we focus on the relationship, and a part of it is relationship and business, I think we're probably cutting out an audience of people who aren't entrepreneurs. It's like they work every day. And I'm just trying to improve my relationship. I don't need to know how to build a business and be an entrepreneur and the consulting and all that kind of stuff. So my suggestion would be let's lock into that, because I think you all have accomplished something that none of these people online that have relationship podcasts have accomplished. 28 years. Most of the relationship podcasts are people that aren't married. And maybe they think because they're in a relationship, like a non-committed relationship, that they have an authority to teach on it, and they have no experiences. They'll never be able to tell the story that y'all told of coming to I know I did something, it's eating me up. I know I did something, and I feel like I got away with it, but I still got to say it because I don't want to die with this thing. And y'all got so many experiences. The dynamic of kids, the dynamic of parents coming to stay. That's your mom. That ain't my mom. You know what I mean? I love her, but those your parents. And quite honestly, they're getting on my nerves. Right? And, I mean, how do you say that? Or, you know, like the death of the y'all been 28 years. A lot of the people that are doing relationship podcasts aren't 28 years old. I think there's an opportunity to dominate this relationship space, and you're only having conversations with either seasoned people that are like seasoned in the relationships, and you start building this culture of people that have been married for over a decade or so, or you getting these young couples on and you are allowing them to see what they have not experienced yet. Like through a conversation, like, okay, me and my wife, we've been married 6 years. If we talk long enough, y'all can see into the future. Am I right?
Yes.
That's factual, yes.
You can see what, like, we are looking at each other, but y'all see into the future of what we are about to walk into.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we can possibly start coaching those types of relationships or bringing on people that are on the brink. Imagine y'all are putting out a call. Listen, there are couples like you who know you're on the brink of divorce. Wouldn't that be a wonderful conversation to have?
Mm. Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Name a podcast where we get to have conversations with two people that know they're on the way out. And you all are facilitating that. That's why I'm saying, like, in the podcast mentorship, I'm stressing for you all to come up with a unique angle. Not just giving out information. We're actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is just me seeing what's going on in the world. I think we're moving away from people wanting information, and they're leaning more into, I want entertainment.
Mm.
I don't want information on how to build a business. Not that, you know, entrepreneurship podcasts and all that kind of stuff isn't working, but what I'm saying is we need some sensationalism because the story we told, it's sensationalism. That's why I'm so interested. I'm like, yo, I want to know the scene. Okay, he sat down, I sat down. Did it just come out, or did you say, I need to talk to you? And while you say I need to talk to you, you're thinking, oh, she's about to tell me. I don't know. But we have to have something that people say, I can't get this anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So I have a social proof podcast, and we interview entrepreneurs. But people can't say they can't get that anywhere else, which is why I transitioned to the hot seat, where I'm bringing in unsuccessful entrepreneurs. Where do you see that at? Where else you going to go to get those types of conversations?
That's true. Yeah.
Nowhere. So we need to think, and it will soon start to happen. I mark my words, you're going to see a lot of these podcasts transition from interviewing successful people to interviewing unsuccessful people. Just mark my words on it. Yeah. But I got a few years to dominate this space and grow this thing until there's a slight shift to where I see a lane where nobody's at, and I got to be there ahead of time. So y'all have an opportunity to be there ahead of time. Mm. And it's going to be so incredibly difficult for someone to even try to duplicate what you did, because it's going to take at least 28 years.
It's been baked for a little bit.
Oh, bro. Yes. I would lean into relationships from a perspective of true experience and start having these tough conversations. I want y'all to have a episode with a couple where they just found out that one of them was in the closet. Mm. How do we navigate that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do we do about it?
Yeah. These are challenging things.
I'd watch the episode. I want to know, what's that? Ooh, what you going to do about that? Yeah. Maybe it might be a little easier. It might be a little easier. And I'm saying might be because there's a lot of people watching that just can't wait to cancel me. It might be a little easier if the woman is coming out of the closet and the man's like, yo, how could you do this? I'm hurt because you cheated, period. But when the man's the one that comes out, the thoughts in my head on, oh my gosh, what happened? I don't know. I don't know. I would love to see these types of conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's drama, I think, inside of every relationship.
Yeah.
But most people don't put their drama on a billboard.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is pretty tucked away, pretty hidden away.
Yeah.
What we've learned is that the things that we tuck away, if we're tucking it away for others not to see, there's a likelihood that we're actually not dealing with it ourselves. And so in learning that, the reason we're so willing now, and we weren't this willing like years ago, like that, we weren't here. But the reason we're so willing now is we're willing to put our stuff out there on the billboard so that people who have it tucked away can feel comfortable with having the conversations in front of each other.
Yeah.
Get healing. That was a big thing for us. We had friends who have gone through it, and having conversations with them, just honest conversations. How'd you deal with this? What happened? How'd you feel about that? Those are healing conversations for us in the continuation of our healing journey, because it's a continuous healing. I think people sometimes think that it's gonna all of a sudden one day be over. Again, Disney, everything's perfect, everything's wonderful, but we have to be aware that we're still working on it every single day.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine. What about a couple that is gay and one of them don't want to be gay no more? How you do that? You know what I mean? These are conversations that I genuinely want to hear, like how this happens.
That's what I forgot, Jackie Hill Perry.
Oh my gosh. Or like, the one person that says, y'all want to introduce somebody into this 15-year relationship that we had. How do you approach the conversation? Man, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that's why communication is so key in your relationships.
Yeah.
In every relationship,
Yeah.
but especially in your marriage.
Yeah.
When you start having conversations about these things, you begin to understand that the things that go on inside your head, they don't just have an impact on you. They have an impact on those people around you.
For sure.
So
For sure. Okay. So one, I want to wrap this up, but we've got to think of, one, the direction, and I would lean heavily on these conversations from a seasoned perspective, and two, we've really got to lock into the income model, because we can't just wait on views and sponsors to come. There needs to be a direct focus. So, and I know you guys coach entrepreneurs and you do consulting for small businesses, but in terms of brand alignment, I think as it starts to grow, it's going to come to a point where you're going to have to make a decision about what your brand is. And if we're in this relationship space, the only consulting we need to be doing is relationships. We can help a relationship that's in business and, all that kind of stuff. But if we're going to full-fledged, when you think of me, think of this thing. That's how something grows. So,
We have to have that evolve moment.
yeah, oh, for sure. I'm excited. I'm excited for y'all, man.
yeah.
I'm excited. Anything y'all want to share as we wrap up?
No, I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you for, what you do, because what you've done has allowed us to be in this space. I hadn't even thought about podcasts. He watches podcasts. And then when I saw you followed me around on Instagram, by the way, I was like, why does this guy keep showing up?
Sure. Shouts out to my ads guy.
And I was like, hey, hon, I think this would be a great thing. Let's talk about it. What can we share? How could we get our message out? Like you said, we're open books for those who we're in relationship with, but should we become a billboard about this? Should we show and help others beyond our local sphere? So
100%.
thank you, because what you do is helping us to do what we do.
Thank you. All right, share your Instagrams, and when can we look out for the show?
Okay.
Yeah, Harmony and Hustle TPC on Instagram. You can also hit us up on our website. You get a lot of information there about our ebook, and that's hhtpc.com. And then podcast coming soon.
January 22nd.
January 22nd, it's up.
Yeah, that's the
Let's go.
plan.
Let's go. Hey, listen, man. Make sure y'all support them. I think this is going to be very, very important to the world, and I believe this will be one of the. It's time for real information, real experience to take over the relationship space, and I think y'all are the ones to do it. All right, so
Appreciate
make sure
it.
y'all follow them, rock with them. All right, we out here. Peace.